Our next punctuation mark is the apostrophe, and we're going to start with question number 3 on test 1. And we read from the beginning of the sentence. If it is improperly introduced into the environment, acid wave runoff can pollute waterways, depleting the oxygen content of streams and rivers as it decomposes. So we're concerned, of course, with the underlined portion that reads, can pollute waterways. If we look at the answers, we can see that 2 of the answers have waterways with just the S, and 2 of them have the apostrophe S. So clearly that's what they're testing us for. So we have to determine whether we need the apostrophe S, and the apostrophe S is always a possessive. So, and obviously just S is plural. So we need to go back into the sentence, decide, is this a plural or not? Acid wave runoff can pollute waterways. And I think it's pretty clear that it can pollute multiple waterways. We're looking for a plural. So right away we get rid of B and D. Cross it out on your test right now. And now we just look at A and C. Now the rest is just a tense issue. We're not dealing with tense now, so we're just going to move on along and we will deal with tense later. Okay, so our next apostrophe question is all the way at the end at 41. So let's go there and we read. These days, many students majoring in philosophy have no intention of becoming philosophers. And again, here we look at the answers and we see that 2 of them have just students with an S and 2 of them have apostrophe S. It's exactly the same as the last question. And we have to determine, is it multiple students or is students possessive? Is something belonging to the students? And we can see from the sentence it says many students. That means it's plural. So again, we can get rid of A and D. Now it's between B and C. And again, it's the difference between B and C is just the verb, and we're not doing verbs. So we can just let that one lie. Now there is another issue that's not on this test that I want to talk to you about that is always on, well, I was going to say it's on every single test, but it happens not to be on this test. But I can pretty much guarantee that they're going to test you on the real SAT on this issue. And that is it's, and it's. And so many people in this world make a mistake. It drives me crazy. This is a pet peeve of mine. So you should really get this one right. And it's easy, okay? So I want you to write this down. It's, IT apostrophe S, is always 100% of the time, it is. It's never possessive. The possessive one is ITS. ITS is the possessive one, and you use it like, look at this pen. Its color is blue, right? The color that belongs to this pen, ITS, its color is blue. So that's it. There's one other thing that they sometimes put on the test that's really weird, and it doesn't even exist. It's ITS apostrophe. Never pick it. There's no such thing. So ITS apostrophe doesn't make sense because it's is a singular thing. And you only use the apostrophe after the S if you have plural things. So you might say, if we had lots of these pens, we could say the 10 pens color is blue, right? And then it would be the 10 PENS apostrophe, the color belonging to all of the 10 pens. So that's how you'd use the S apostrophe, but you can't use it with it because it is singular. Okay, enough said about apostrophes. Now I want to talk about run-on sentences because, well, they go with commas, which we already did, but they're so important that I want to sort of address them separately. All right, and so there's one specific question I want to look at, which is 17. So let's go to 17. And first I'll read the sentence, and then I'll talk about run-on sentences. Okay, so it's a long sentence, as are a lot of sentences on the SAT. They're long, and when they're long, you should be thinking, this might be a run-on sentence. And you know what? I'm just going to tell you. A run-on sentence is when you have two complete sentences that are incorrectly put together to form one big sentence without the proper punctuation. Okay, so run-on sentences are always incorrect, and you want to be able to spot them. So now I'm going to read the sentence. According to Box, a leading Greenland expert, tundra fires in 2012 from as far away as North America produced great amounts of soot. Some of it drifted over Greenland in giant plumes of smoke and then fell as particles onto the ice sheet. Wow, that's a mouthful. And so when you have a really long sentence of like 5 or 6 lines, you have to break it up. So let's just look at the first half of the sentence. According to Box, a leading Greenland expert, and already I'm just going to tell you, put parentheses around that whole first line because it's not really the core part of the sentence. They're just little phrases that we can just get rid of so you don't have to read it, and it makes it simpler to take in all the information from the sentence. So I'm going to start with tundra fires. Tundra fires in 2012 from as far away as North America produced great amounts of soot. Stopping there, and I ask myself, is that a sentence? And I say, yeah. Now, if you really want to make it easy, you'll get rid of the little phrases that are not important. Just like we did with the first line, within a sentence, there are usually phrases, they're usually prepositional phrases that we want to get rid of. And this leads me into a little sub-lesson, which is prepositional phrases. You should know this. It's really, really helpful. So prepositions are all those little itty-bitty words that you don't really know what they are. They're usually prepositions. So, and you should know maybe a handful of these. They have kind of repetitive words that they use over and over again on the SAT. There's not that many. You should be familiar with them. And I'll list them. There's in, at, by, to, from, over, of, with. There's a million of them, okay? There's a lot of prepositions. I'm not going to give you them all because they're mostly not relevant, okay? But these ones are important. If I think of another one along the way, I'll let you know. So the prepositional phrase always starts with the preposition and ends with something after it, like usually a noun. So it could be something like during the summer, or with my friend, or in 1859, right? So you would just put parentheses around those phrases, effectively taking them out of the sentence and making the sentence shorter so you can deal with it. Okay, so let's do that for this first half of the sentence. I see in 2012, put parentheses around that. I see from as far away as North America. That's a big one. Put parentheses around that. This is awesome. And we also have of soot. That's at the end of that first half. So now we hardly have any words in the sentence. It's awesome. So now it just reads, tundra fires produced great amounts. All right, I'm good. If you want to throw in of soot so it reads better, that's fine. I like this. It's a full sentence. Now, if you look at the punctuation, there's just a comma, and there's no linking word after it. So here's how you fix a run-on sentence. You either have a full sentence, when you're starting with the full sentence, you either have a comma and a linking word like and or but, or you have a period and then you just start a next sentence, or you have a semicolon. You could also have a colon. Okay, those are your choices. But you cannot have two complete sentences separated only by a comma. No, no, no. Okay, so let's look at that second half of the sentence and see if it's a real sentence. Some of it drifted over Greenland in giant plumes of smoke and then fell as particles onto the ice sheet. Now again, it's kind of long. I am tempted to just get rid of the prepositional phrases like we did in the first half. So, of course, I'm going to leave the underlined portion alone. Over Greenland, in giant plumes of smoke, and onto the ice sheet. I know some of these I didn't tell you, like onto, but I'm telling you now. All right, so now we read it and it says some of it drifted and then fell as particles. That seems like a sentence to me. We've got a subject, we've got the predicate with the verb. So we have two complete sentences separated only by a comma. This is a run-on sentence. So we have to fix that. And since the comma stays and that's not underlined, we have to make that second half not a complete sentence. Okay, so we go into the answers finally, and we crossed off A because as it is a full sentence. If it says some soot drifted, well, that's a sentence too. And if we delete of it, it says some drifted. All three of those, A, B, and D, leave that second half as a complete sentence. So the only answer possible is C. That's probably the easiest way. It's not an easy question, but it's probably the easiest way to analyze it. A lot of people don't really they're not really familiar with the of which structure, so that's okay. For this test, you don't have to be. It's not a big deal, but I would like you to understand the run-on sentence. So that's all I need to say about it, but if you didn't get it, just rewind and replay this portion of this video because it actually is really important. You'll get a good number of points from knowing the run-on sentence thing. Okay, see you next time.